Good evening, everyone. Now, what I'm going to show you tonight, I'm not very good at. This isn't something I normally do, but as you saw, we could use other tools to thin somebody. Photoshop has a tool that's called Liquify. And this allows you to manipulate the image. So let's say she wanted to be thinner in the waist. We could pull in the waist and make her look thinner. This would be one way that you could modify an image. Again, like I said, this is not something I do. This isn't the person. She looks perfectly fine as is. So why would I want to do anything to um, change her? You'll notice there's some face aware liquify over here as well. We can actually change the face width right within here. We can change the jawline. We turn the preview off. This is what she looks like. But look at what we did with the changes. We made her face more oval, and we thinned out her um, abdomen. And you could go even further with here. You could change her chin height, bring it up, or bring it down. Change your forehead. This would actually allow you to change her uh, expression. Let's see what it does. That's the before. There's the after. This isn't the same person. You can change their eyes. You can change their mouth. It's a little disturbing how much this tool has in it that obviously was asked for by photographers. Otherwise, they wouldn't have put it in. But again, here's what she looked like before. Look at the face. It's oval, but it's more round. She has a normal body shape. But because of what I did and the sliders that I changed, her body shape pulls in. I missed a spot. And look at her face. And it did a believable job, too, of pulling in the hair with the face. But it's, and we've added a smile. It's disturbing to me the amount of modifications that you could make to a person with a tool like this. This is just a simple tool that's built into Photoshop. It has a lot of other things that you can do over here on the side. There's a face tool. And you want to know how many, you can change the eye size. Just a little pull and look, she's got bigger eyes. This isn't the same person anymore. And this is why this is one of the things that I won't do. I don't believe in making modifications to people in this way. So let's now go take a look at our other subject. And we're going to use the same tool. We're going to go into liquify. But yep, you guessed it. If I can make something smaller, I can make it bigger. I can go through like I said, this isn't something I do, so I'm butchering this one. Let's reset the changes. Blow tool's a little bit different than the pinching tool. I'm basically just dabbing it. So with a woman, probably wouldn't do this with a man, but a woman, you could increase certain body part sizes, like her butt. But we're just going to make some changes here. Try to make it look natural. Up those pecs a little bit. And we went from this to this. Bigger muscles, it changed the vascularity as well because we were bloating everything. And it actually does not look, even though, as I said, I don't do this stuff normally, so this is unusual for me to play with. But it would make a bodybuilder look bigger than they are. Again, this isn't the person. And to me, the goal of doing these photo sessions is to actually capture what the person looks like. So again, going back here to Our Lady. Now, have I used this before in the past? Yes, for making makeup changes for a horror photograph. But again, we take this pinch and we bring it in. Making sure to balance out both sides. You notice the pinch is pulling in on the side here, so I've got to be careful about how I'm doing it. Then we go back over here to these sliders. We can actually individually change the size of the eyes. You see the eyes swell, and you can see her eyes are a different size, which that's normal for people to have eyes of different sizes. It's unusual to have two eyes of the same size. So let's pull that up just a little bit. And now our eyes are more symmetrical, but again, this is not who she is. We can change the height of the eyes. We can move them up and down. We can change the width. We can change the tilt. Again, we can have her smile or frown. So you want the classic high fashion model always pouting or frowning. You can do that. You can change the width of the mouth. We can change the width of the face. And that's not the same person. I've changed not only her body shape, but by modifying the mouth, I've changed her attitude. So when I shoot people, and yes, I mean that with a camera, I make sure that what I see is captured. I don't enforce my vision of what the person should look like on them. What I try to do is replicate what I saw in the photograph. Now, because I shoot in a raw format, and you can see that in some of the other videos, the camera does not try to manipulate the image. If you shoot with your iPhone, for example, you're getting a particular file type where the phone tries to figure out what the best image should be. So it makes adjustments to brightness, to contrast. It doesn't change the backgrounds and add distortion in there, but it can make some changes to manipulate the photograph into what some programmer thought was a good image. I don't want to rely on a programmer to tell me what a good image is. Even with the tools that I use, and I do have several in my uh, kit that I use to make changes to the photograph, and we'll take a look at some of those next week. But I'm enhancing the photograph, not the person. For example, I may have an image where there is a bunch of things in the background that are just way too busy to me, too noisy, too distracting. So we'll take a look at this woman here. She's shot with a background, and that's fine. But to me, the background is bright, it's distracting, it takes away from her. Now, there's a couple of things I could do, but let's just stay in Photoshop. Because Photoshop has this selection of subject. And when it gets down, it should have her and the weight outlined. And you can see it did a pretty good job. There's a couple little areas here that it didn't quite get, but that's fine. Now, if we make a adjustment layer, let's do exposure. You'll see it highlighted her. That's not what we want. So when you see a mask, the black is ignored and the white is what gets worked on. So now if we take this and we change that exposure down, look at how much better she looks now. I've taken away that distracting background, and yes, I'm enhancing it to make the point, but I'm getting rid of all of that distracting background in doing this. Another thing I could do, just turn this layer off for right now, and this is something that I will do. We're going to select her again. Put her in the mask. But again, I don't want to manipulate her. I want to manipulate the background. And I can go up here into my filters. Oh, I got to make sure that I have her selected. I can go to my filters. And I can use a blur. I blur style by accident. All right, filter, blur, and I can do a Gaussian blur. Now, part of the background being distracting is I can see the pattern that's there. So what if I blur the background so it looks more like this? So we apply it, and it blurs it a bit, which helps set her out because she's not blurred and the background is. Now, if I add in this other adjustment layer, I don't have to go quite so dark, and I can still make her pop out of the photograph. So this is one of the types of manipulations that I will do. And as I said, sometimes because I shoot in a raw format, certain things are required to be manipulated. For example, the contrast in the image might need to be changed because the camera sees so much more than the eye does. So what I am seeing in front of me doesn't match what the camera saw. So my manipulations are to bring into alignment what my eye saw with what the camera is putting together in a photograph. And again, a camera has one lens. We humans most of us have two. So we can see that three-dimensional depth that the camera can't pick up. And part of the manipulation is to bring in that three-dimensional depth. And if you look on my channel, you'll see how I do that to not modify the muscle of a bodybuilder, but instead to show that muscle because it gets lost in the flatness of the image. So this is another of the, this is what I won't do. Today what we talked about is enhancing the size of something like a man's muscles or a woman's derriere, or changing a woman's shape to make her thinner, to thin out her face, to change the shape of her lips, her eyes, or anything like that. These are manipulations that aren't something that just occurred because of the lighting in the room or the angle of the photo. These are actually enforcing a vision of a person onto that image that doesn't exist. That's one of the main reasons there was so many complaints about photo covers on magazines. The image of the person was manipulated to show what the company wanted to be there rather than actually showing the person they were photographing, and that's unacceptable. So I hope you found this helpful tonight. The replay will be up in a bit, enhanced on sound in case this didn't come through quite well, and I hope to see you guys next week.